Disagreeing in a job interview is often a very tricky balance. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about a couple of pointers that you want to keep in mind here. And the first one is whether you should disagree at all on something that's being discussed, because if that something is not linked with the job that you're applying for, or not something really important, then probably it's not worth the time in the first place. And the second element you want to keep in mind here on whether to decide if it's something worthwhile or not is whether if it's something you can defend. Can you defend your point? Are you confident about this, or this is something you're maybe thinking that they're not right about? In which case, I would probably not go, on opening a discussion about this. But all in all, being yourself in a job interview and using gut feeling is something that actually works. Now, when it comes to actual conversation, to actual disagreement, there are a couple of tips and tricks you'd want to consider here. So let's take a quick example. Let's say you're applying for a PM role, and you're talking to the hiring manager, and your hiring manager is telling you how they are using the waterfall method to develop a project. And you basically disagree because you've been using the agile method quite successfully. So how do you say this? How do you tell them this? Well, one way would be to say something like this. Well, it's interesting that you say you're using the waterfall method, because in my last project, I used the agile method, and I managed to bring down the delivery timeline from 6 to 4 weeks. So notice here, I didn't disagree. Like, I didn't openly said, hey, I disagree with what you say. I tried, to open up a conversation, and basically, I try to open a healthy discussion instead of a conflict here. Notice another element here. I said I had in my latest project instead of we did things in our own company. Using I, to communicate how you feel is more personal, and you basically take more ownership over what you're saying here. And last but not least, notice that I quantified. I used a little bit of data here. I said that from 6 to 4 weeks. So you can quantify. I quantified this in a way that my hiring manager would understand what I'm saying in the best possible way. So this would be the three things, the three obvious things that you would want to keep in mind right now. Another element you'd want to consider here, another pointer would be whom you're talking to in that interview, because if it's the hiring manager, there would also be a matter of seniority. So it's easier for you to show as stubborn than if you would be talking to someone else. So another method to communicate your disagreement to your hiring manager would be to simply ask for permission. May I ask you for permission to present you how I did in a previous project? So by asking for permission, you set an even better rapport with them, and you might even open up their curiosity over the matter. So also keep in mind this matter of seniority and the potential for stubbornness in a job interview. Now, last but not least, another trick, when you disagree over something, don't cut short your interviewer and say, no, you're not right on this one. Take a moment and show listening skills essentially here. And if you take a moment and you make a break, make a pause, and only then present your point of view, that will also help you to have a better rapport. And even, you can even demonstrate critical thinking by having that little pause and only then developing more on your ideas here. So this would be, the main elements you would want to keep in mind while disagreeing with someone and opening up essentially a conversation into which you would bring data, you would take ownership of it, and respect seniority while exhibiting listening skills. So hopefully you found this interesting.